So we've now heard from Michael and from Gilles. So we had some great messages there in terms of the theory and the perceptions of the marketplace. What we're going to do now is we're going to make this real, and we're going to focus on a real world case study. And like I said in my introduction, it couldn't be a more important one, because this is about patients in a health service. And I'm delighted to welcome up now one of our key partners in the United States, who was Liquid Hub, that was then acquired by Capgemini, to present this great case study. So it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome Metin Ergener.
Thank you, Jahia, for letting us talk about this. Just making sure I can see my slides. And I know I'm between you and the first break of the day, so I hope this actually caters, and we are also breaking, I think, both for technical and non-technical, so I'm assuming my session actually hopefully segue into that very nice. As Gary pointed out, I'm with Capgemini Invent now. It's a very brand new brand under Capgemini. And I did actually have a video, which I don't think we are going to hear the volume because of the way things are set up. So I will talk about what we do. So I don't have the fancy voiceover, but Capgemini actually has recognized that there is a change that in the full service agency slash technology space that needs to be done. More often than normal, what happens is a whole bunch of complex projects with integrations end up failing. And that's because the strategy, the design, technology, data science, no one really is able to look at it holistically. So Capgemini Invent was created specifically for this purpose. So the word invent comes not only for innovation, but for us to be able to go to our clients and help them invent what is next in the market space, to bring to life what is viable and is able to change the market space. So that's our task. One of the projects that we are going to talk about now is one of the tests about that, and that is specifically in healthcare space. It's a very US-centric, to some extent, problem, so I don't know in France you guys are going to understand this thing, but healthcare in US is a very complex situation, especially if you are dealing with either a rare disease or a chronic disease that you need to maintain. And what we have done is we actually partnered with our clients, Alliance RX, Walgreens Prime, that's the full name of the company, I know it's a mouthful, to help them bring a offering to patients who are actually dealing with these situations where they are getting maybe specialty medicines to manage their healthcare. And what is interesting is, and I think this one will resonate everyone, is if you are actually dealing in a situation where you are getting specialty medicines, it is not uncommon to have every 3 months, unless you have the insurance, to get only the drug bill between $10,000 to $20,000, which alone is a very big burden on the patients. You may be in a terminal state, you may be dealing with this over the long term, you have doctor's appointments, you have hospitals that you need to go to, and on top of it, you have this big, or you have to basically get your insurance company, and this is universal, I believe, for all the insurance companies. The insurance companies do not want to pay you for these large bills. So what Alliance RX Walgreens Prime does is gives tools to the patients. And trying to make sure my clicker actually works. There's a delay. It went forward, sorry. Tools to the patients through the digital channel to manage at least the prescription side of their condition. What we have built for them is this digital pharmacy where you can actually go learn about the various offerings by AllianceRx. You learn about the next steps. You have a personalized dashboard where you get reminders, you get information about your specific prescriptions, you can request refills, you can get reminders for refills, you can get the status of these medications. Say, I'm going to run out of my medicine next week, and guess what? I'm nervous about it showing up with FedEx on my door. Where is it? Is there an issue? The top one that we see on the screen requires attention. That means that I need to do something about it. So that is the experience. And talking about AllianceRx Walgreens Prime, it is a very new company. We actually started talking to them in late October of 2017. So it's, roughly we are talking about a year. And at the time, it was a company that was just announced. And all of you will actually understand that just being announced as a company to having a viable product offering that is in the market has been a very fast-paced experience for them. Couple of things, they provide two main channels for the customers to interact with them. It's the digital, it's the website, it's the phone, majority of the time. And more importantly, they have no physical location. So I can't say, hey, you know what, I need this medication tomorrow. I'm going to show up and talk to a pharmacist. It's not the way it works because of the specialty nature of these medicines. These are not necessarily kept in warehouses or actually they are kept in warehouses. They are not kept in physical stores. So the whole digital experience is very high stakes for them. And when we came across this project, we started thinking about Jahia. And at this point, actually, I want to ask Mike Razuk, who actually was the account executive who introduced us to AllianceRx when they were facing these decisions, to come join me to provide some color commentary about it. But the main thing here is, again, we started talking to them end of October. They had to go live with a website with full transactional capabilities by first half of the year.
Is this on? Yep. So when we started talking to them, again in October, they had a new company. They had no real infrastructure. They had no employees. I think there were 12 people in the company at the time. And what they really wanted to do was get to market quickly. A lot of what we heard Michael talking about earlier, driving nimbleness, speed to market. They needed both a public-facing entity and an intranet because they had nothing for the employees to use. And they had this one little challenge of, oh, by the way, everything comes from Walgreens. So all of the data, all of the services were existing Walgreens services. They had to make use of what was existing in the legacy environment while trying to provide a brand new digital experience. They also, because they had no people, they needed something that was easy to use, something easy to author and manage. Because there's, what, one person doing all the authoring for the site?
For the internet, there is one person. For the intranet, there's one person. So it's two people in total. But at the end of the day, yes. I mean,
doing all the content.
There is no backup at this point, basically.
So providing this full digital experience in this very short time frame with no people and having to make use of a very complex legacy environment, we're like, well, we need a simple front end. And that kind of led us down the path of Jahia. Marketing and acquisition isn't a big thing for them. So all of these packages out there that are selling, hey, we're your acquisition engine, that wasn't important. They wanted content and content management, integration, portal-esque was very important to them. And finding a solution that actually did that and did that well kind of led us to Jahia and down that path.
And one of the also other things which I didn't emphasize too much is, yes, AllianceRx Walgreens Prime caters to the patient, but they also partner with the aforementioned insurance companies. So when we talk about the Alliance RX Walgreens Prime's Prime part, it's a pharmacy benefits management company that basically came together with the US's largest, one of the largest US drug companies to create this, if you will, unique marriage of, if you will, two opposite sides to make this better. And as a pharmacy benefits manager, this company basically partners with other insurance companies. So one of the things that we are doing that on the roadmap, which we will talk about in a minute, is also ability to white label and remove Alliance RX Walgreens Prime. So it could be Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, right? They want to be able to create the exact same experience from an application perspective for those people under that white labeled brand, where you still have the specialists in the background who can actually work to coordinate these benefits. You still have the same notifications engines. You still have all the capabilities for the patients to register, clear insurance and all those things, but create this in a multi-client environment. So that was one of the also important decisions for us, because as an application and as looking at it from an agency lens, we needed to make this not very super cookie cutter. We need to make it more interactive. We need to make sure that some of the capabilities that are more common nowadays with the JavaScript front-end frameworks work. But at the same time, we wanted to be able to shift the power of changing the branding, changing the content, and applying it to various white label clients as well. So Jahia fit the bill. And to be perfectly honest, from a Jahia perspective, and I hope that I'm not going to offend any of my Jahia friends here, it was a little bit of an uphill battle. Because in US, Jahia didn't necessarily have the name associated with it. So when, as an agency, you go out there and you say, hey, you know what, I have the perfect tool for you. I looked at all your requirements, but yeah, you didn't ever hear about it. And first of all, that's not how you spell Jahia or how that you pronounce Jahia. So those are somewhat like, uphill battles. So this was a very important thing for us to be able to communicate to the client as to why Jahia. And guess what? The people who are absolutely fascinated and happy with the results, because we are going to talk about results next, is the same people who went to a competitor's conference literally the month before we went with Jahia and came back and they said, oh my God, we spoke to all these people, they have the full stack, they do everything from experience management to the campaign management to commerce. We gotta go with them. Everyone does, right? And we are like, hey, hold on for a second. We just went through a whole analysis and we said it was Jahia. And they came to the decision that was the right decision. But the reason that I'm emphasizing is especially for other companies who may be doing similar things as we do not just give up. Yes, we have to do what our clients want, but you need to articulate the reasons as to why Jahia, assuming Jahia is the right solution for that, very clearly to them. Because not knowing Jahia sometimes gives the cold feet and people, they just want to go with what everyone else does. Regardless of the fact that it may be failing for, what did Michael say, like a very large, 70%.
7 out of 8.
It just people, yeah, but so-and-so did this thing. So let's take a look at the timeline. Q4 2017. Mike here calls us, myself and Piyush, we were running the practice, and says, okay, so I have a client, they're a brand new company. Let's go talking to them. We go talk to them, they're like, okay, so we need to not only pick a platform, but we need to pick the company to help us make it into reality. So we had to run in both lanes. We had to get them to choose us. We had to help them make a platform selection. The main criteria was we knew it was going to be, we didn't know all the details about all these website complexities, but we knew that we were going to do it for internet as well as for the intranet. Another complication happened. The company was announced, actually, if you look at the bottom of the screen, October 2nd. So here we are talking to them 2.5 weeks after they announced the company. They are not becoming a legal entity till January 2018. So even contracts were a problem to make with them, right? So we had to start that in Q1 of 2018, which was the same time that we had to finish the requirements. We had to work on the UI, UX design for the new sites, and also finalize the technical architecture, which, by the way, then led to more contracts because they wanted to do the hosting in cloud, so we had to pick the hosting provider, which ended up being different than what the parents' companies had used in the past. So the reason I'm emphasizing this is between end of Q4, what should have been Christmas time, and beginning of Q1, we basically had to help them, not only us working, but help them come to decisions on many of these things, which we'll see the details. By Q2, we had to deploy the cloud environment, finish the MVP that is not just a brochure site, but a true MVP that has transactional, that has registration capabilities, that basically does everything that the site needs to do in the end state, but maybe missing some features. And we went live actually end of May, soft live, and the clients basically started coming to the site and more by June, and that was a big milestone for us and a big set of weight off our shoulders. What was very funny is I actually added a last bullet into that Q2. So as Mike alluded, this is using existing backend systems, and we are going to see some of the logical architecture that's coming up. And our goal was to really make complex as simple as possible, not only for the patients, but our clients also, because I mentioned specialty pharmacy, I mentioned home delivery elements of it, and again, you may not be familiar with it. Specialty is really specialty. Those drugs that I'm talking about that you basically are taking because you have a very serious condition and you are basically buying cutting-edge drugs, which are, as I said, $10,000, $20,000 price bill associated with it. The mail order or home delivery part of it is you are on maintenance drugs. You get the same drug every day for the rest of your life, and you order them in like 3-month batches. The reason that there is a difference there is due to the complexities as to how you actually fill these orders and the insurance requirements behind it, they actually are using 2 different backends. So even if I am a single pharmacy doing both of them, I need to use 2 custom-built solutions that basically are providing this thing. Guess what? These things are not modern. The pharmacists that you actually talk to on the phone are using VMware to connect to a very complex, almost like blue screen type thing to enter these things. So it was a very complex backend, plus on top of it, a e-commerce layer was written that was also customized as is, and we had to use all these pieces and make it work in a seamless way that was going to help them build a more seamless digital experience going forward. So I emphasize that thing because of this last bullet. So we put all this thing together, we go live. There is no announcement. We are all in the same room, we are sitting down, it's the war room. There's a bunch of snacks, there's a bunch of people who are nervous, including myself. Going live is always, yeah, we did everything, is it going to work? The phone rings. It was within the hour. And then it's one of the technical guys on the home delivery side, which, by the way, we integrated into, but he's not necessarily part of this thing. He's like, there is a guy in, I think it was Ohio. Where was it? California, who just placed an order for a drug. Is that normal? They're like, yeah, we just went live like, 40 minutes ago. He's like, okay, and then he hangs up the phone. But, we didn't expect the first order to come in that fast. Because they had to actually go find the site, which was not announced. They had to go register themselves. They needed to have the refill available for them to refill and place, add a credit card and place the order. But I just thought we are waiting for this shoe to drop and it's going to be horrible. And then the phone call that we get in panic mode was actually something working. They just didn't expect.
It was kind of funny because we had, anyone that's ever done a launch, we had prepared for the worst. We had all the food, everyone had their schedules blocked off. We're in this war room, and it was, I think we went live at 2:00. And
yeah.
At 3:00, the order 3:45, 2:45, the orders are coming in, and we're like, so that's it?
Yeah.
What do we do now?
The worst part of it was we had bad
flights.
food that we had ordered. If we knew, we would have just basically just waited to eat a little bit and then went out to have a good meal. But apparently,
So, it was a very anticlimactic launch.
So that went well. As we were doing that thing, as we basically were also working, the intranets usually in a situation like this are deprioritized. We needed to get the client-facing site first. So the following quarter, we actually launched the intranets. And right now, we have 3-week sprints. Just a week ago, we did one release that added some major functionality I'll talk about. And we have a full roadmap, at least for the next 18 months, and there will be more coming over there. So let's talk about future. From a future perspective, and these are relevant to Jahia, we are going to be adding more personalization and targeting for the users. And given the healthcare nature of this thing, the privacy when we do this personalization and targeting is going to be very well calculated, right? We can't get our data to go out of our systems. And I talked about the white label customization. The requests are already coming in. Some of the insurance companies will only sign up with us if they basically allow us to suppress the name of the company in all the experiences. What's interesting about that is it's not only suppressing it, so it's not just slapping a logo and changing the colors. We need to be able to change forms associated with the PDF forms, because there are still PDF forms and so on the site that people need to be able to download even if you can do everything online. We need to be able to change guidelines. We need to be able to change the pages. So for each of these white labeled sites, it's basically a full featured website that the business users need to be able to manage. We have inherited some of the branding style guides when we went live from one of the parent companies that created the spin-off because, again, there was no time for us to do a full rebranding for the event, given the timeline. Again, to me, this is an important thing because, from concept of a new company to us going live, it was like a 6 months timeline, which is pretty short, at least in our space. So that's something that we are working on, and we are also going to be looking at additional opportunities to add enhanced patient tools. Right now, the way that we did it is the website does provide reminders, notifications. You will get actually SMS email notifications and so on. But one of the things that we have in the roadmap looking at is actual maybe applications, mobile applications, where you can put actually pill reminders also. These are reminding you right now when your prescriptions are due, but not reminding you, hey, take your pill at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and so on. And we want to basically work on that. The website adoption is growing. This is as of August. Things have changed since then. It is a pretty nice graph. I do want to highlight a couple of things. As of this graph, there was no campaign launch, no real live marketing campaign. This is all organic growth. Like the guy in California who we imagine was sitting on his couch, placing an order. on the website. These are people who know that they're getting their prescriptions through Alliance RX, Walgreens Prime, because their insurance company tells them that's where they should get it. They do a website search, they find the website, they register, they look at status, and so on. The two key metrics here that I'm very happy about is the 78% returning users mean is people who basically find the website in one shape and form are not just registering and then disappearing into the void. They are coming back. That means that they are actually finding the value that they were looking for in the website. Either those are the statuses or ability to place refill orders. We are getting those people to come back to the site without really doing too much personalization targeting as of now. The 22% new users is a good indication for me again, especially with lack of a marketing campaign. People are actually steadily coming and registering for the site. I mentioned the sprint that went live for September. We basically have added a new feature there, which basically now is going to start adding more emails to drive users to the website. So I'm hoping that the next time I look at the graph, that slope is going to start going even further up. But for a new website that's just organically, we are very happy with this adaptation rates. Andy Yoon, who basically was our primary client, I asked a quote from him. I don't know if it actually comes across here, but I think the thing that we heard from them from the start was our ability to be nimble and agile was very important for them. They hadn't thought out all the requirements. They hadn't thought about all the dependencies. We inherited lots of back-end systems that were already in place. We had to make decisions and change things on the fly for integration purposes. And I actually would like to compliment them also when we went to them with these problems saying, hey guys, we can't make it work this way, but we can make it work. Obviously, we didn't go to them with just a problem, but we always went to them with a problem and a proposal for a solution. They were very fast to say, hey, you know what, let's just make it work. But I believe they felt the same thing for working with us, that the type of partnership that we provided. So, couple of, let me do a time check. A couple of things that I want to do is, at the end of these slides, I do want to give you guys an opportunity to Q&A. If we want to break for it without any questions, if you don't have, that's fine, but you will have the opportunity. This is where I'm kind of like bringing into the what was the technical reasons Jahia was chosen. Our web application, and I put a very simple example here, which is just basically a consent form that we have. Our web application that we provided for all the previous reasons that we talked about needed to be content managed, because the business users do want to be able to update content pretty fast. Not only business users, actually. In this particular case, there is a legal element associated with it also. We have terms and conditions, we have disclaimers and things of that nature. In most of the applications that are done in the more modern, in our case, we are using Angular, by the way, Angular 5, but either Angular, React, and so on. A bunch of these types of things get put into the application itself, right? They're not truly content managed because people want to be able to use the interactive features of these JavaScript frameworks. But especially as a new company, sometimes the copy needs to be updated quite faster. If it is put into the application, what does that mean? I'm agile, I do 3-week sprints. You are out of luck for up to 3 weeks if you make a change, right? So we wanted to avoid that with this implementation. From a branding and so on perspective, like we in this page have the Alliance RX. By the way, this is a real screenshot of the website, although the rounded things. And I know it has a very lean banner on top. That's by design also. When you are in the registration flow, we basically strip everything except for the one thing that you need to focus on. But when we look at this page, the page itself is a Jahia DX page. The overall structure, what's on the page, the banners, footers, all those things actually are your regular Jahia pages. So if I'm a business user, I can add content on top of this. We had a hurricane or storm in US a couple of weeks ago. They inserted not a stock alert, but an alert right between the logo and the component there. It was like literally a 5-minute thing for the business to do. The other parts of it is the actual interactive piece with the flow is your Angular SPA, single page application components. They are called single page applications. We are calling it, that's the industry term, but we actually approached it a little bit different. We basically made these SPAs as standalone Jahia components on the page. So as much as they have internal SPA flows, they can also interact with other Angular components if I have more than one on the page. The other part of it is, and I think we are going to hear a lot more during the course of this conference, is to tackle the content problem about the disclaimer. We needed to be able to insert Jahia managed content inside our single page. It's kind of like those Russian dolls, they're stacking into each other, right? We need to insert that thing inside our SPA. So we use the content as a service capabilities of Jahia as it stands to use Jahia while as a full-blown DX at the same time as a headless CMS to prevent the content, to allow the content to go in. And for the actual interactions and transactions, we are using a microservices architecture that is going back to, and I have a slide I'll show you guys, to talk back to the Oracle ATG through an Nginx layer to basically accommodate that. So at the end of the day, I have a web page that is managed by DX that has multiple components that are either content components or commerce components that's working together to create really a very complex interaction from an integration perspective, but at the same time, from a content management and user experience perspective, as simple as we could make it work, So it's kind of like shows you guys that the actual page came from Jahia, the SPA components that we saw, and the headless content as a service, and the microservices calls go back to the e-commerce layer. The e-commerce layer is not really, super Jahia-centric, but it was very important for us that the DX platform did allow this componentized architecture to allow that. And I know that Jahia has other commerce-related integrations, support that's coming up. We haven't used that actually for this project, but knowing that direction and acknowledgement existent on Jahia side was also a decision for us to justify Jahia, because we knew that it was going to be a platform that was going to allow integration versus say, hey, you know what, I have pre-baked everything, and you can use this pre-baked thing and you'll be done, because that really doesn't work in real world. So let's take a look at the technical pieces of it. The whole environment runs in Microsoft Azure. That's the cloud provider that was chosen by our client. We really had no preference between, say, Amazon Web Services versus all the boxes are Linux boxes. There's really no Microsoft in the mix, except for they are the company behind it. We are using their Azure Application Gateway. For those of you who are not familiar with Azure Application Gateway, the reasoning for that one is basically these three areas underneath it. We needed to use Jahia DX. We needed to talk to a third-party commerce environment. And we also wanted to use personalization and targeting without giving our data away because of the sensitive nature of our clients. And Azure Application Gateway gave us that capability. What that means is, depending on the path that a request is coming to Azure, I can be going to www.alliancerxwp.com. That gateway allows me to route the traffic to these various pieces. From a cloud-based analytics, and some people may ask, hey, you have me, Marketing Factory, and so on, why you need it. The clients felt more comfortable having some alternative analytics as well. So we are using Google Analytics, and we are also using Dynatrace that provides two values for us. One of them is it helps us monitor the health of the environment by doing monitoring, and it's also another layer of analytics that it provides. And so now we can actually, and because none of these things get it 100% right, we can compare our results with Google Analytics, what we see in Marketing Factory, and what Dynatrace does. They are roughly the same, but there is a variation because, as I said, none of them is, I would say, 100% from that perspective. From a backend microservices perspective is, we inherited a bunch of these things, so we ended up having to put another kind of middleware to unify those things. That's our, Nginx layer that's running on top. But it talks to a home delivery RX platform, which is a homegrown system. It was one of the revolutionary systems, actually, when, I'm not supposed to mention the parent company name, but it's part of the name of the company that we are working for. When they built it, it was very big, and we inherited that. So that's actually the same RX system that powers thousands of pharmacies that we have in the US. For specialty, they are using a third-party system. I'm actually meeting them next week to talk about their roadmap. But that's a third-party, very point solution. And what we have is a unified patient profile, which is, again, a custom profile that synchronizes the patient details between these two platforms. And we are going to be looking at a campaign management platform. Right now, we are just using email campaigns that are running through Cheetah. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Jahia, for our opportunity to talk about our client. And more importantly, thank you for letting us be successful in a very short amount of time by providing a very flexible, integration-friendly solution.